recording here. Okay, point slope form, the equation is right here. We're going to be using this a lot today. And what's in here, m is still slope, just like in slope-intercept forms. This is slope. And then you have coordinates. So this would be your x coordinate. And we'll look at this in problems in a second. Coordinate, and this is your y coordinate. So essentially, you'll be given slope, or you'll solve for slope, and then you'll be given 2 points, like maybe 2, 3 or something, and then you plug that in, the x into this spot and the 3 into this spot, and then we will solve, and we'll look at that in a second. Something to also note is that these negative or subtraction symbols mean that this x is going to be opposite. So just make a note, opposite, and we'll see what that means in problems in a second. Okay, so using this formula, if you wanted to, you could just graph this line from this formula if you know what everything is. So our slope is going to be this coefficient here, and then a point on the line is going to be x and y. So looking at this, it says find the slope of the line and the point that passes through. Use this to graph the line. So here is point slope form. Our slope is right here, so m equals -2. And then a point on the line, I'm gonna use a pencil. This is our x coordinate and this is our y coordinate. But remember, this equation has a subtraction symbol here, so our x coordinate is actually -1, and then our y is 3. And then from here, we can graph the line. So we're gonna plot the point -1, 3. And then the slope is -2, so we're going to begin at -1, 3, which is what we did. And then the slope being -2, so -2 over 1, so we move 2 down and right 1. So down 2 to the right 1. And you can continue that pattern and then graph the line. Okay, next one, the same idea. We have our slope right here is 3/4, so m is 3/4. And then we need our coordinates, or coordinate that's on the line. We're using point slope again, so this will be our x coordinate, so our x will be +6. And then for the y coordinate, it has nothing on this side, but that would just be like y plus 0. So our y must be 0. So we're going to begin at 6, 0, and plot that point right here. And then we're going to move at a slope of 3/4, so that would be up 3 over 4, which is not even on the graph. But positive 3/4 is the same as -3 over -4, so we can actually go down 3 into left 4. And just graph it this way. And then graph the line. There's my Post-it notes that I usually use. Okay, now we're going to look at just the equation. So they're giving us some numbers and we just have to plug it into the equation. I'm going to zoom in. Write an equation for each line in point slope form. A line that passes through these coordinates and it has a slope of -1/3. Again, the equation is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And there's just blanks and we're just plugging in numbers. So the slope would go right here at -1/3. And then our coordinate is x minus x, so this would be -3. And then 6 goes here. So this would be actually x plus 3, but. And the x goes with the x and the y goes with the y. That's how you can remember where everything goes. Next one passes through 5, 3 and has a slope of 2, so I'm putting in the slope, and then my coordinates, x goes with x and y goes with y. And the next one, they don't give us the specific blanks, but the same thing. So it'll be y minus your y coordinate equals the slope, and then x minus your x coordinate, which subtracting a negative will be plus, just writing it out that way though. D passes through 3, 4 and has a slope of -2. Same idea, y minus your y, slope of -2, and x minus your x. And you're done. Next. Oh, sure. Okay, so now new examples. From point-slope form, you can easily change the equation into slope-intercept form. So we're going to be going from y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1 to y equals mx plus b. All you have to do that is to just solve this for y, and you'll get it into this format. So given this, first step I would need to do is distribute the 2 to both of those numbers. So y minus 1 equals 2x minus 4. And then to get y by itself, I'll add 1 to both sides. And y equals 2x minus 3. And there we have it. For the next one, I'm actually going to change the numbers a little bit because it gets a little too much with the fractions. So we're going to change this minus 4 to 5, and it'll make it a little bit easier to work with. Okay, so same as we did with the last problem, we are going to distribute this coefficient to both of those terms. So I'm just bringing down the y plus 7 equals -4/5 x. And then I need to do -4/5 times 5. I'm just going to do that off to the side. -4/5 times 5 over 1. You could multiply across or just simplify before you do that. 5 divided by 5 is 1, and 5 divided by 5 is 1. Now -4 over 1 is what you're left with. Well, -4/5 times -5 is going to be +4 actually. So +4. And then from here, to get y by itself, subtract 7 from both sides, and y equals -4/5 x minus 3. And that is our answer. Yes.
Why did you get the 4 to be positive?
Because we had x minus 5 here, we're doing -4/5 times -5.
Oh.
And so it made it positive, yeah. Okay, so to write an equation for a line, you always need the slope of a line and a point that the line passes through. For these next 3 examples, these are very common examples. They're almost always worded like this, but each example is different. What's nice is as we go through these examples, there's like steps written out here. So when you get to your homework or anytime you see these problems, here are the steps that we're going to work through. So the first one, it says a line that passes through the points 3, 3, and 0, 5. And we need to get something in slope-intercept form, which would be y equals mx plus b. So to get it into this form, I need to find the slope. And slope is, if you remember the equation, slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'm going to solve for slope first. So from here, taking my coordinates, just subtract the y's, subtract the x's, we get 2 over -3 or -2/3 for slope. So I'm trying to get something that looks like this, -2/3 x plus a y-intercept. So the way that you find the y-intercept is through the point-slope form. So point-slope form being the y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And yes, I keep repeating that over and over so it'll kind of stick in your brain. And you use this point slope form when you're trying to get to y equals mx plus b, but they didn't give you the y-intercept. So anytime they give you, or you have slope and you have just a point on the line, then you can use this equation to get it over into this format. So now that we have this written out, we have our slope, which is negative 2/3, and we're just going to choose one of these coordinates, maybe it's 3, 3, and we're going to plug these numbers in. So y minus 3 equals negative 2/3 x minus 3. And then from here, we're just going to solve and get it into this format. And then negative 2/3 times negative 3 is just going to be 2. So plus 2. And you could do that problem off to the side. 2/3 times 3 over 1. This 3's will cancel and you got 2 over 1. So you're good. And then from here, add 3 to both sides to get y by itself. And then I get y equals negative 2/3 x plus 5. For the 5 here. Okay, next one. The line parallel to this and passes through these points. So a line parallel to this would have what slope? The same one. So our m is going to be 4. So we're looking for an equation that's y equals 4x plus, and we don't know our y-intercept, but we are given a point on the line. So we don't need to know our y-intercept, but we are given a point. We use that point slope form. So we y minus the y equals the slope times x minus the x. And then from here, we just solve till it looks like that. And I get this. And E is similar. It just says the line is perpendicular to this. So if we have a slope of negative 2 over 1, a line perpendicular to that would have a slope of positive 1/2. So our slope now is positive 1/2. And it passes through 3, 2. So the way we get to y equals 1/2 x plus whatever the b is through the point slope form. So we're doing y minus our y is 2. Slope is 1/2. And x minus 3. And now we solve. Half of 3, I'm just going to say 1.5 because I'm a cheater. And I like decimals better. Half of 3 is 1.5. And then from here, I'm going to add 2 to both sides. So now 2 plus negative 1.5 is going to be 0.5. The answer choices probably aren't going to have 0.5. Just recognize that that's 1/2. So y equals 1/2 x plus 1/2. Okay. There's one more thing I want to go over because it does come up on the homework. One of the questions that is formatted a little bit different than this is it says, okay, the x-intercept of a line is, let's say it's 3, and the y-intercept, let's say they say it's 6, and then they ask you to put that into y equals mx plus b format, which can be a bit of a jump. But for x-intercept, that would be at 3, 0, and then the y-intercept would be at 0, 6. So you can use that to find slope. So you could just find slope 6 minus 0 and 0 minus 3, and you could find that the slope is negative 2. So you'd have y equals negative 2x. And then for the y-intercept, yes, you could plug this into point slope form to solve for it. But you're already given the y-intercept, so your b is just going to be 6. And you'd be done at that point. This lesson is more challenging for students. You may do great at it. You may struggle a little bit. If you have any questions as you go through it, please raise your hand and ask, because I'm sure some of you will need a little bit of assistance getting through it. Please take a laptop to your seat, get started on the homework.